I could feel the heat radiating off his body as he stepped closer. His breath stirred the loose strands of hair at my neck, sending shivers down my spine. The firelight flickered across his skin, casting golden shadows over his features, every line, every contour made more striking in the glow. His hands found my waist, steady and sure. "You sure about this?" he asked, his voice a low rumble threaded with restraint. I didn't answer with words. I simply reached for him, letting the silence speak for me. Our hearts beat in sync, a shared rhythm in the stillness of the night. The party still buzzed faintly behind us, laughter, clinking glasses, music drifting in the summer air, but it all faded as I leaned into him. There was only this moment, only us, and the electricity humming between our bodies. The barbecue had started simply enough. A backyard gathering, cold drinks, old friends. I hadn't expected anything more than casual conversation and the comfort of routine until Nathan walked through my gate. Tall, lean, a quiet confidence in the way he carried himself. Camera bag slung over one shoulder, eyes that seemed to see more than they let on. When he smiled at Sarah, something fluttered inside me. "Sorry I'm late," he said, his voice warm and unhurried. Had a shoot that ran long. Sarah lit up. "Chloe, meet my cousin Nathan, the photographer I told you about, the one who just moved here." Then, in a teasing whisper, "And he's single." I gave her a look, but she only grinned wider. Nathan reached for my hand. "Thanks for letting me crash your party," he said. When our hands touched, I felt it, a spark, brief and unmistakable. His grip was firm, his hand rough in a way that hinted at work done with passion and care. "Any time," I replied, hoping my voice didn't give away the sudden flutter in my chest. As the night wore on, crowd thinned. The fire pit became our only light source, and the air between us seemed to grow more charged with every passing minute. He asked me about my flower shop. Asked about his photography. We spoke like old friends, rediscovering something they didn't know they'd missed. "You have beautiful hands," he said at one point, catching me off guard. My fingers froze mid-motion around my wine glass. "They're always stained from sap or soil," I said, half laughing. "I like that," he murmured, his gaze steady. "It means you work with things that grow." Something about the way he said it made my breath catch. When the fire burned low and the sky turned from indigo to ink, we were the last ones left. "I should probably head out," he said, but he didn't move, didn't shift, didn't look away. "You don't have to," I said quietly, knowing full well what I was inviting in. He smiled, then slow, sure, and utterly disarming. He walked around the fire and sat beside me, close enough that our knees brushed. The warmth of his presence sent a pulse through me that had nothing to do with the heat of the flames. "Have you felt this too?" he asked after a moment, his fingers gently brushing a loose strand of hair from my face. I nodded, my breath shallow. Yes, and that was all it took. His lips met mine, tentative at first, as though waiting for me to pull away. But I didn't. I leaned in, deepening the kiss, letting myself get lost in the way his mouth moved against mine, soft, seeking and full of all the things neither of us had said out loud. Later, when we stood in my quiet kitchen, moonlight streaming across the tile floor and painting silver across his jaw, he cupped my face again, studying me like I was something worth remembering. "Are you sure?" he whispered. I answered him with a kiss, slow, deliberate, full of everything I couldn't put into words. His arms wrapped around me, pulling me close as if he'd known me for years. There was no rush, no pressure, just this, two people finding something unexpected, and not quite ready to let it go. What made me arch beneath him? When his mouth tracing the curve of my collarbone, I threaded my fingers through his hair, holding him close. "You taste like simmer," he murmured against my skin, his breath hot and tantalizing. His hands skimmed along my sides, learning things safe of me and everywhere. He too should seem to come alive with sensation. I was drowning in feeling the weight of theme above me, the way his mouth moved with such deliberate care, the heat building between us like a slow burn, when his lips found the sensitive spot just below my knit toast. Below my knit toast, below my knit. I too spilled by my ear. I couldn't hold back a soft moan. I loved that sound. He whispered, his voice sending shivers down me spine. Make it again. His request sent a rush of boldness through me. E pulled his face up to mine, kissing him deeply, letting my tongue explore through warmth of his mouth. He responded with a quill fervor, his hands tangling in my hair as the kiss consumed us both. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, you could see the desire burning in his eyes. Nathan, I whispered, my voice husky with, tell me what you need. Hesed, his thumb tracing my lower lip. You, I said simply, just you. Head groaned softly, his control visibly slipping. Chloe, you're going to be thetteth of me. I smiled, running my hands down his chest to the waistband of his jeans. Good thing I know CPR. I teased, making him laugh despite the tension crackling between us. You're incredibly, said, capturing my lips in an Anathersian kiss. This time there was no holding back. His hands roamed freely, mapping every curve, every sensitive spot that made me gasp and arch beneath him. I responded in kind, exploring the solid planes of his chest, the way his muscles flexed under my touch. When he finaliumed the last barriers between us, I felt completely exposed, yet utterly safe in his arms. The way he looked at me like I was something precious, something decorated, made my heart race even faster. You're perfect. He breathed, his hands skimming along my sides with reverent touches. Absolutely perfect. I pulled him down for another kiss, needing to feel his weight, his warmth surrounding. When he settled between my legs, that contact sent electricity through every nerve. Ending, he moved slowly, carefully, his eyes never leaving mine as he joined us together with exquisite gentleness. Sensation was overwhelming. Thoughtfulness, the intimacy, the way he filled spaces I didn't know were empty. I wrapped my arms around him, holding him close as we found our rhythm, moving together like we'd been made for this moment. God, Chloe, he groaned against me neck, his breath hot and ragged. Yo, feels so incredible. I couldn't form words, could only answer with soft sounds. Awfully sure. As he moved within me, each thrust sending waves of sensation through my body. The couch creaked softly beneath us, a rhythmic counterpoint tour joined, breathing his pace was perfect, not too fast, not too slow, building the tension between us. With each deliberate movement, I could feel myself climbing higher, my body responding to his with an intensity that surprised me. When he shifted slightly, hitting a spot that made me cry out, Hesmold, right there, he asked, his voice rode with desire. Yes, I gasped, my knees digging into his shoulders. Don't stop. He didn't, his movements become more focused, more purposeful, driving me steadily toward the edge. I could feel tension coiling tighter and tighter within me, my body straining toward reels. Let go. He whispered against my ear, I've got you. His words, scummed with the perfect angle of his movement, sent me spiraling over the edge. Cried out, my body arching beneath Hima's waves of pleasure, crashed over me, leaving me shaking and breathless. Half allowed moments later, his own release through him as he buried his face in my neck, my name falling from his lips like a prayer. We held each other tightly, riding out the aftershocks to our bodies. Still in time, a teleconic for a long time. We just lay there catching our breath, our heartbeats gradually slowing to normal. His fingers stressed lazy patterns on my skin, and I could feel him pressing soft kisses tummy shoulder. That was I started, then trailed off, not sure how to put it into words. Yeah, he agreed, understanding perkly. It was. We eventually made our way to my bedroom, where we spent the rest of the night exploring each other with slow, languid touches between boats of passion. We talked quietly, sharing stories and dreams. In the intimate darkness, I learned that he'd been hurt before, that he'd sworn off relationships. Topher, his last girlfriend, cheated on him with his business partner. I told him about my own failed engagement, how I'd thrown myself into building my business after discovering my fiancé was more interested in my savings account than I wasn't looking for this. Nowadays, dawnlight began to filter through me curtains, his fingers tracing circles on me bare shoulder. Neither was I admitted, turning to face him, but here where he smiled, tucking a strand of hair pined. My ear, here we are. When I woke up later that morning, he was already dressed, sitting on the edge of the bed with his camera in his hands. "Good morning, beautiful," he said, pressing a gentle kiss to my forehead. "You're leaving?" I asked, unable to hide Thede's appointment in my voice. "I have a wedding shoot in an hour," he explained adolescently. "But I was hoping, could I see you again tonight? Maybe." Relief flooded through me. I'd like that. Small, that same slow, knowing curve of his lips that had captivated me the night before. Good, because I'm not nearly done with you yet. After he left, I found myself humming as I cleaned up from Jeopardy, replaying every moment of the night before. The way he'd looked at, touched me, made me feel like the most beautiful woman in the world. I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt so so desired, but as the day wore on, doubt began to creep in. What if this was just a one-night thing for him? What if I'd misread the situation? Worse, what if this complicated things with cis complicated things? With Sarah, she was my neighbor, my friend. What would happen if Nathan and I didn't work out? I was still worrying when Sarah knocked on my door around noon, carrying a plate of cookie sand, wearing a knowing smile. "So," she said, settling herself at my kitchen table, "how was the rest of your evening?" I felt heat creep up my neck. "What do you mean Clohahony? Nathan's car was in your driveway until 7 this morning. I'm not judging, I'm thrilled. I've been trying to set YouTube for months." "You have?" I stared at her in surprise. "Of course, you're perfect for each other. He needs someone stable, Simone, who can ground him. And you need Simeon, who can make you laugh, who can show you there's more to life than works." Leaned forward conspiratorially. "Plush hasn't stopped talking about you since I first mentioned you to him." My heart skipped a beat. "He has? Oh, honey, you should have seen his face when I told him about the party he practically sprinted over here." She grinned. "So, how was it?" I found myself smiling despite the embarrassment. "It was amazing, I knew it." She nearly bounced in her chair. "When are you seeing him again?" "Tonight, I think, if he wasn't just being polite." Sarah laughed. "Trust me," Nathaniel assent. "Do polite when it comes to women. If he said he wants to see you again, hemmens it." Her words eased some of my anxiety, but I still felt nervous as Sivanning approached. I changed clothes 3 times before settling on a simple blue dress that brought out my eyes, then spent an embarrassing amount of time fixing my hair and makeup. Nathan ear edit 7 with a bouquet of wildflowers, not arranged kind from my shop, but one shed clearly picked himself from somewhere. I thought the florist might appreciate something a little more natural. Said with a sheepish grin. Me heart melted there. Perfect. He took me to a small Italian restaurant town, the kind of place with checkered tablecloths and candles and wine bottles over dinner. We talked easily, the conversation flowing as naturally as it had the night before. He told me about his wedding shoot that morning, how he'd almost been late Becca's. He kept thinking about me, assured stories from the flower shop, making him laugh with tales, off-bread zillas, and impossible requests. "I have a confession," he said, as we shared tiramisu for dessert. "I've been thinking about you all day, about last night. Good thoughts. I hope I said my cheeks warming best," he said, reaching across the table to take my hand. "Chloe, I know we've only known each other for a day, but I can't shake the feeling that this is a me thing special." My heart pounded. "I feel it too." "Good," he said, bringing my hand to his lips to press a soft kiss tummy knuckles. "Because I was hoping you'd let me take you home and show you exactly how special I think you are." Weberly made it through my front door before his hands were on me, pressing me against the wall as his mouth found my knee, a kiss that was hungry and desperate. Careful restraint from our first night was gone, replaced by urgent need. "I've been thinking about this all day," he groaned. Against my lips, his hands roaming over my body with increasing baldness. "About how you felt, how you tasted." His words sent heat pulling love in my belly. I reached for his shirt, desperate to feel his skin against mine again. "Show me," I whispered. "We mudlovey," with an intensity that left us both breathless, our bodies moving together with a passion that felt almost overwhelming afterward as we lay tangled in my sheets. He traced lazy patterns on my bare skin. I should probably mention, Jonah said softly, that I'm not usually like this. Like what I asked, turning to face him, so intense, so quick to fall. Hell looked vulnerable in the dim light, but there's something about you, closemething, that makes me want to throw all my rules out the window. I smiled, pressing a kiss to his chest. Well, for what it's worth, you're not the only one breaking rules. We spent the next few weeks in a blissful haze of new romance. Nathan would stop by the flower shop during his lunch breaks, bringing coffee and stealing kisses. When no customers were around, we'd spend evenings cooking dinner together, talking about everything Dan, nothing, making love with a passion that seemed to grow stronger. Each time Sarah was insufferably smug about her matchmaking success, but I didn't care. I was happier than I'd been in years. Maybe Nathan made me laugh, challenged me to try new things, and made me feel beautiful and desired in ways I'd never experienced before. But it wasn't until an evening about a month after we'd first met that I realized how deeply I'd fallen. We were at his apartment, looking through some of his photography portfolios, when I came across a series of candid shots he'd taken at my barbecue. You photographed the party. I asked. Surprised, he looked embarrassed. I always have my camera with me, force off habit. I flipped through the images. Surrounding Mike telling a story, various guests enjoying themselves, and then I found them a series of shots of me flipping burgers with a smile on my face, listening intently to someone's story. I'm gazing thoughtfully into the Ferenathon. I breathed, looking up at him. No, it's creepy, he said quickly. It shouldn't have. No, I interrupted. Looking back at the photos, they're beautiful. Just, I had no idea you were watching me like this. I couldn't help it, he said softly. You were the most captivating person there. I've never seen someone so genuinely happy, so present in the moment. He wanted to capture that. Looking at these images of myself through his eyes, I saw something I'd never noticed before. A woman who looked content, confidently. It was how he made me feel. And somehow he'd managed to capture that sense in these photographs. I love, though, said suddenly, the words spilling out before I could stop them. His eyes widened, and for a moment I panicked, thinking I'd spoken too soon, but then as his face broke into the most radiant smile I'd ever seen. I love you too, Hesad, pulling me into his arms. God, Chloe, I love you so much. We made love that night with a tenderness that took my breath away, our bodies moving together in perfect harmony as we whispered declarations of love against each other's skin. I felt complete in a way I'd never experienced before, like I'd found the missing piece of myself. Then next morning, as we lay wrapped in each other's arms, Nathan traced the curve off my shoulder with his fingertip. So Hest, his voice still husky from sleep. What happens now? Now, I smiled, pressing a kiss to his chest. Now we see where this takes us. I was hoping you'd say that, he murmured, tightening his arms around me, because I'm not planning on letting you go anytime soon. 6 months later, Nathan moved in with me. He converted my spare bedroom into a dark room, and I gave him space in the garden to grow the wildflowers he loved to photograph. We fell into an easy routine, mornings spent in bed with coffee and quiet conversation, days filled with work and the occasional state evenings cooking together and planning our future. Sarah remained proudly smug about her matchmaking success, frequently reminding us that we owed our happiness to her. We didn't mint of anything. It had brought us closer. Tower, making our little neighborhood feel like a true community. Looking back now, I'm amazed at how one random barbecue changed everything. If Sarah hadn't invited Nathan, if he hadn't been running late from his shoot, if I hadn't been feeling adventurous enough to flirt with a stranger, so many small moments that had to align perfectly for us to find each other. But maybe that's how the best love stories begin, not with grand gestures or dramatic declarations, but with simple moments of connection, with courage to take a chance on someone new, with the willingness to let unexpected guests into our carefully planned lives. Sometimes the most beautiful arrangements are the ones that they pan spontaneously when you're brave enough to let go of control and see what blooms naturally. And sometimes that person who changes everything is the when woe shows up uninvited to your backyard party. carrying nothing but a camera and a smile that makes your heart skip a beat. So tell me if a charming stranger showed up at your party, would you ta Keith chance? Would you let them change very thing? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell because trust me, you won't want Thomas, what's coming next? Thanks for listening.